When you think of recycling, what comes to mind? Aluminum cans, plastic bottles, newspaper? How about buildings? That's the message a Virginia company is making through its popular TV show.
The majority of this stuff is just going to go in the landfill, and it's not going to benefit anybody.
All that potential energy of the people that created it being ground up and put in the ground is not a good thing.
Mike Whiteside and Robert Kulp are familiar faces to anyone who watches the DIY network program Salvage Dawgs. The show follows Mike and Robert and the crew at Black Dog Salvage in Roanoke, Virginia, as they rescue architectural material, hardware, and fittings from abandoned homes and buildings slated for demolition and repurposes it for resale. Think of it as upcycling on a grand scale.
It shows people that there's an alternative waste stream. Instead of throwing it away or throwing it in a barn and letting it rot, that there's a public out there that's looking for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's whether we're making an actual physical impact ourselves, I mean, obviously we are in some way. If we can just publicize that and get more people thinking in the right way and participating in it, the only way it's actually going to really make an impact is if we're all doing it.
The pair spoke at the West Virginia Educational Conference on Litter Control and Waste Management held recently in Huntington. The annual conference is sponsored by the Association of West Virginia Solid Waste Authorities and the DEP and focuses on recycling, reuse, and sustainability, and that's where the Salvage Dawgs fit in.
Our first recommendation is always save it. Save it where it sits. We realize that's not that's not the way the world works. Economics don't work that way, and we believe in private property and highest and best use. And sometimes that means something's going to get torn down. But let's save what's valuable there, and just go to that little bit of extra effort instead of just.
Believe it or not, we would rather see a house saved or a home or a building saved because it's standing. It's in its original configuration. What we get out are parts, and those parts have to be either repurposed or reconfigured or sold for their intended purpose, like a door. Hey, you know what? It can be a door again.
Or it could be a table.
Or a headboard.
Yeah,
or a
right.
Coffee table. There's a lot of things a door can be, but it's best if it can stay in its original configuration.
And part of the show's popularity comes from seeing that creative reuse and the possibilities that material that would otherwise be headed for a landfill can present.
We're such a small company, we can't save it all. And as I said earlier, we don't want to because we'll be buried under it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of stuff. There's more than we can ever capture ourselves. But if you can bring awareness to people and the fun part of it, I mean, we work hard, but we have a good time doing it, and it's worth saving our heritage. It's worth saving the things that are historical or even just good craftsmanship, solid wood that for years and still today are thrown away.
Salvage Dawgs begins its third season on the DIY network with new episodes this month. After finishing up in Huntington, Mike and Robert were headed to Parkersburg and then on to Wheeling for projects that you might see on an upcoming show. They say because of their location in Roanoke, their travels frequently take them into West Virginia. You can find out more by visiting their website, blackdogsalvage.com. The DEP is awarding more than $180,000 in grants to help communities recycle their unwanted electronics. The agency approved 30 applications from communities all across the state. The grants will pay for things like transportation, processing and recycling, and advertising for take-back events like this one last year in Cabell County. Funds come from fees paid by manufacturers into the state's covered electronic devices recycling. You can see a full list of this year's winners on our website, dep.wv.gov. Just ahead, we'll check out this year's Youth Environmental Conference. We're back in a moment.